I have a bit of a confession to make. Hound was technically not my first LEGO Transformer. That honor goes to the subject of today's video, Blaster. Back in 2023, I had recently built Articulation 98's Bumblebee and Cliffjumper to pair with my Optimus set, and I knew I needed more. I didn't really have a long-term plan, and so, unlike all my other builds so far, there wasn't really any LEGO Studio involved with this build. Because of that, this figure was always in a constant state of tweaking, and naturally just looks a little bit different than the other bots I've made so far. It wasn't until I started this series that I figured he was good enough to show off, so here we are. With this in mind though, I've since replicated the design in LEGO Studio, so if you'd like to build this for yourself, a link to the instructions is down below in the description. Now, you might be wondering why I chose to make Blaster over a more popular music-themed character who also has his own cassette bots. Soundwave was actually my first choice out of instinct, but after thinking about it a little, I decided to go with Blaster instead. And that's because with pretty much every well-known Transformers iteration, you get the same 10-ish bots. Optimus, Bumblebee, RC, Megatron, Starscream, and Soundwave. I didn't know how far I was going to go with this hobby at the time, and I didn't really want to risk ending up with the same few bots that you just kind of see everywhere. So I opted to go for a more expanded Autobot team, over the same bots that you'd normally expect. I'll probably do them all eventually, Decepticons included, but I wanted to expand my Autobot team more first, and I feel like Blaster is a bit more of a pull than the usual bots you'd expect. Also, Blaster is generally just awesome. He's a personal favorite from the G1 cartoon that I wish we saw more of. Part of the fun of making this bot was incorporating all of the different cassette bots he's known to partner with. If I was ever getting sick of a Transformer I was working on, I would take a break and work on a cassette bot, and I'm happy to report that I've got his basic G1 lineup right here. Rewind and Eject were super fun to tinker with, as it's all about getting a humanoid figure to turn into a rectangle with very specific size restrictions. In the end, I'm super happy with how they turned out, boasting standard articulation and some fairly accurate details. I used these silver disc pieces from the LEGO Voltron set to represent the rollers on the cassette. As I show off the transformation here, I'll mention that there aren't any notable differences between Eject and Rewind. They're both just simple recolors, and I'd like to do more of the obscure recolors in the future. In the end, I'm super proud of how they look in bot mode, and I think they turn to some pretty convincing rectangles. Steeljaw was a bit more of a challenge, and after several iterations done by hand, I eventually just had to build this thing in LEGO Studio. Even now I'm a little iffy on his design, but I think the yellow lion comes across pretty well. Being the first beast mode I've done, he doesn't have much in the way of articulation as you'd expect, but he folds up a lot more simply into his cassette form. All in all, he fits in well, and I like the details I was able to get in, like his mane, teeth, and tail. Ramhorn definitely got the weaker design though, as all of the Rhino design aspects made it difficult to turn him into a small enough cassette. Still though, I'm happy with all of the details I was able to get in, like his horn, his tail, and rockets. I do also have some other cassette bots that I'm going to keep a little more close to the chest, at least until I can get their more popular recolors made, and you guys can probably guess who they are. And of course, I didn't want to make Blaster without his ability to store these little guys. That's part of what makes him so cool in the first place. So you'll notice here that a lot of his boxy proportions are built around the space requirements of his ejection mechanism. And like I said before, since this bot was built by hand and not in LEGO Studio, the mechanism probably isn't idealized in terms of space. Still though, I reduced the overall size as much as I could without sacrificing the authentic feel of pushing down on the button by his waist and having the cassette physically pop out towards you. It works pretty consistently, and I'm very happy with it. It just wouldn't be Blaster without this feature. Now onto the actual bot himself. Blaster comes with all the typical design elements you'd expect from his G1 design, including a relatively boxy torso and arms, stereo system in his legs, and a full cassette port complete with transparent windows. His articulation is comparable to the official Optimus set. He can move his head on a ball joint, and his arms move out and around on the same rotation joints used on Optimus. This includes shoulder rotation, as well as elbow flexion and rotation. His hands also rotate at the wrists and offer individual finger motion. He can rotate at the waist and get a good spread at the hips. His legs rotate forward at the hips and bend at the knees thanks to some ball joints with gaps in the back to make way for the flexion. His feet also offer some ankle pivoting so that he can adjust his stance. Overall, in the cartoon, Blaster's pretty tall thanks to his mass shifting, which means I had some flexibility in terms of his size. Most reference material puts him at about the height of Optimus, so that's what I aimed for, making him the tallest bot I've designed so far. And here's him next to some other bots in my collection. Much like his classic toy, his transformation is very simple. At the hips, you spread the legs into a split, and at the arms, you could split them up and maneuver them to fit in snugly just above the legs. And then bend at the knees to another 90-degree angle. Everything should line up with the width of the torso and arms. You turn his head around, and using the joints attached to his neck, position his head into the groove in the back. Fold in his feet so that they fit in on top, and at the back of the body, you'll find removable panels for his legs. You can fold these out and position them together, making up the handle of the boombox. I love how this boombox mode turned out. It pops with all the right details, and I think they go a long way in keeping him from just looking like a red rectangle. There's not much in the way of size comparison, but here's him next to some of the other bots anyway. And as is custom for all the Transformers in this series, let's get him in some rollout shots. Wait, that's not right. In addition to his cassette bots, I also whipped up a small scale of his boombox mode. It's roughly to scale with the other alternate modes and just kinda gets me something that matches the actual scale of what his boombox would be. So all in all with Blaster, the sizing was a little weird on this one, but it was kinda freeing and allowed me to get Blaster to a size where I could comfortably fit the cassette bots. Really, these were the guys who set the size for the overall bot. I love Blaster's attitude and gimmicks in the original G1 cartoon, and Soundwave counterpart or not, Blaster more than shines on his own with every iteration. Here's hoping we see more of him in the future. If you'd like to make this design for yourself, I linked the LEGO Studio file down below in the description, and if you end up building it, let me know down in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe for more Transformers and LEGO to come, and I'll see you all next time.